Welcome back to the Sonder Cast, where we explore ideas, experiences, and the little things that make each life unique. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Adam. Thanks for joining us today. We're really excited about this episode because we'll be diving into a topic that everyone seems to have an opinion on. Do you prefer books or movies?
Yes. And while we're at it, we'll be introducing and practicing some comparison language to help you level up your English listening and speaking skills. So grab your coffee or tea and let's get into it.
So Kayla, let's start with the obvious question. Do you prefer books or movies?
That's a tough one. Honestly, I love both, but if I had to choose, I'd say I prefer books. Books allow me to dive deeper into the characters' thoughts and emotions. There's more detail and depth in the storytelling.
Interesting. For me, it's kind of the opposite. I tend to prefer movies. Movies are shorter and more visual, which means I can experience the story in less time. And sometimes, I just don't have the energy to read hundreds of pages.
Haha, fair enough. Books require more time and imagination, whereas movies deliver the visuals and sounds directly. But don't you think that sometimes movies can feel rushed, especially when they're based on books?
Absolutely. In many cases, the book is much more detailed than the movie adaptation. A book might spend 3 pages describing a single scene, whereas a movie might show it in 5 seconds. So, yeah, in terms of depth, books often win.
Let's compare how storytelling works in both formats. For example, in books, we often get internal monologues. We hear what the character is thinking.
Exactly. In contrast, movies rely more on visual cues, like facial expressions, music, and camera angles, to show what a character might be feeling. That's one big difference. You have to interpret more in movies.
True. Another difference is that books allow for more complex plots. 'Cause you're not limited by time or budget, an author can go wild with details, backstories, or even entire worlds.
Yeah, whereas a movie usually has to condense everything into 2 hours or less. Some movies are just under 90 minutes. That's a lot less time than what you get in a 400-page novel.
Exactly. So in terms of storytelling freedom, books have an advantage. But movies can use sound and music to build emotion in a way books can't. Like, think about the soundtrack in Interstellar or The Lord of the Rings.
Yes, music adds another layer of emotion. So, while books are more detailed, movies are more immersive in a sensory way. Sight, sound, and even pacing.
Here's something interesting to compare: imagination. When I read a book, I imagine the characters, the places, even the tone of voice. But in movies, all of that is already decided for me.
That's such a good point. On the one hand, reading a book stimulates your imagination. You're creating a world inside your head. On the other hand, watching a movie gives you the visuals, which can make the story easier to follow, especially if you're tired or multitasking.
Right. Some people find it easier to connect with the story through visuals. But others, like me, feel more engaged when we're filling in the blanks ourselves.
So in terms of imagination, books win. But in terms of accessibility, movies are probably the winner. Would you agree?
Totally. Especially for language learners, movies can be easier to follow because of the visuals and subtitles. But reading books also helps build vocabulary and grammar, so both have benefits.
Let's talk about how English learners can benefit from both. From a learning point of view, which is more helpful, books or movies?
Honestly, both are useful, but in different ways. Reading books helps you learn new words, grammar structures, and formal sentence construction. But it's usually slower than watching a movie.
Whereas movies expose you to spoken English, pronunciation, and even slang or idioms. So, they're great for improving listening skills and sounding more natural.
Exactly. And if you want to build vocabulary, books might help more than movies because you can stop, look up words, and take your time. But if you want to hear how English is actually spoken, movies, and especially TV shows, are incredibly helpful.
So, it depends on your learning goals. For vocabulary and reading skills, books are probably more effective. But for listening and speaking, movies are more practical.
So, after all this comparing and contrasting, has your opinion changed, Adam?
Hmm. I still love movies, but I can definitely appreciate the value of books more now, especially when it comes to imagination and emotional depth. What about you?
Same here. I'll always love books a little more, but I totally see why people love movies. They're faster, more immersive, and sometimes just more fun.
And that's the beauty of it, right? You don't have to choose one or the other. You can enjoy both, just like you can enjoy tea and coffee or cats and dogs.
Exactly. Life is full of options. So whether you're a bookworm or a movie buff, keep exploring stories in every form. And if you're learning English, remember, every story is a chance to improve your skills.
That's it for today's episode of the Sonder Cast. We hope you enjoyed the discussion and picked up some useful comparison phrases along the way.
Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with a friend who loves books or movies or both.
Until next time, keep wondering, keep learning.
And keep exploring the little stories that connect us all. Bye.